SeaWorld San Diego, my home park, the worst lineup in the whole entire chain. Home to one of the worst roller coasters in the world and recent budget cutting. This sounds so much worse than it actually is, however it still has the weakest coaster lineup in the entire SeaWorld and Busch Garden chain. This park is home to a whopping 5 coasters. You can already tell how there's a complete lack of depth here, but in today's video we will be going through and ranking the coasters of SeaWorld San Diego, including my controversial opinion of why I think Emperor is better than Manta. Sorry for spoiling it right there. Before we start the video, I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. It means a lot more than you think and will help a small channel like us grow. Starting with the pile of garbage that sits in the back of the park and infuriates me every single time I walk by it, it's no surprise to anyone that Tidal Twister is in the number 5 spot and is the worst coaster at SeaWorld San Diego. As of now, it may or may not be the worst coaster in the entirety of the West Coast. We will leave that up to the Giga Chat enthusiasts to decide. This ride somehow manages to be rough with pulling literally zero forces. The max speed is 30 miles per hour, except it spends 99% of its time swinging back and forth to get to that speed. This coaster manages to take track made by Rocky Mountain Construction and turn it into a rough pile of nothing that no entity on the entire earth wants to ride, except for that juicy +1 credit. Additionally, SeaWorld manages to take a ride that is required to duel and make it not duel. If this ride is ever running, which it never is, they usually only run one side, which goes to show how SeaWorld has also given up on this hunk of junk. Now for the mere positives that this ride does have, when going over the inline twist, there is a slight hint of airtime in the back row, and the inline twist does provide some hang time. But going back to the never-ending list of negatives, there are the most bulky restraints ever on a coaster. I do not see why they are necessary or why Skyline even ever thought of making this in the first place. There's a pretty obvious reason that this is the worst coaster at SeaWorld San Diego. I can make a grocery list on what Skyline needs to change to make it an even slightly enjoyable experience. In fact, I would rather ride an E&F Minor Kiddie coaster than this less thrilling Skyline model. Now for the coasters that are to the level that you can actually call them coasters. In the number 4 spot is Journey to Atlantis. This was the OG coaster installment here, and it is still a very solid addition to SeaWorld's lineup. I have to say this version of Journey to Atlantis is miles behind Orlando's version, but it still packs in a good punch. This mock water coaster has some very unique elements to it, along with a decent coaster section. You do have some attempts at theming, but it's nowhere close to what Orlando can do, and overall the storyline is really hard to follow and is very jumbled up. The elevator lift has to be the coolest part of the ride, and the turns coming out of it can provide some nice positive G's, especially for a water coaster. Beyond that, it is a pretty average ride. This coaster adapts to SeaWorld's shallow lineup. I feel like I have said this a lot in the past 2 weeks, but it's okay. It's not like anyone here is a returning viewer. Back to the point, this coaster is not the most thrilling, it's not elite, it's not even great, it's just a fun ride that's enjoyable to ride. For these reasons, Journey to Atlantis takes the number 4 spot. Now to the real coasters. Kicking off the top 3 and in the 3rd spot is Electric Eel. This is a Skyrocket 2. We all know and love or hate this model. Chances are you have ridden one in them in your lifetime, as it is a copy and pasted ride throughout the entirety of the globe. This specific one has comfort colors and a 3-car train. I feel like I do not need to go in depth here because we all have learned what a Skyrocket 2 entails, but I'll give some of my thoughts. The comfort colors exist. Yes, they do, well, obviously, but they are just there. I don't think they are too interfering with the ride's forces. I still do feel the pop of airtime coming up in the front row and the pop of airtime coming down in the back row. The hang time in the inline twist is still very good, even with the comfort colors. However, it would be 10 times better without them there. The 3-car trains can add the extra bit of whip in the back, but mainly I like the faster queue line. Overall, the forces on a Skyrocket 2 model can feel a little uncomfortable, especially coming back down where you drop and turn immediately. Besides that, I would say it's still a solid ride, and now comes for the first hot take of the video. I like Premier Trains. I say that with all confidence that I like Premier Trains. You can hate me on it however much you want, but I like Premier Trains. Do I need to say that again? I like Premier Trains. Okay, fight me. Anyways, I'm a very small dude. The Premier Trains don't bother me whatsoever, and no hate is given towards the ride because of this. Despite this, it definitely falls short of the top 2 in the lineup because it is a Skyrocket 2, the forces are uncomfortable, and it's not as unique and full as the other coasters. Now here comes the second hot take of the video. Emperor, the new for 2022 small-scale B&M dive coaster, hey, that's my 3rd time saying this line on this channel, falls in the number 2 spot. I would say this is the only true traditional coaster that SeaWorld San Diego has. This is a dive coaster, so you already have the whole one-trick pony thing with the first drop and holding brake. Beyond that, you have quite a short ride with no mid-course brake run and only 3 inversions. Despite this, the coaster hauls through the layout and has some very good pacing and width for a dive coaster. Additionally, some of the inversions have very good foot choppers on the right side of the train. It's a good, short, but sweet ride. Now here's where you'll also see some of SeaWorld's budget cutting. There's an entire lack of theming in this area, and Emperor sits on a literal plot of dirt that was once a parking lot. The theming is abysmal here. There's even no roof on the station, but I am not too bothered by that whatsoever, and that's a conversation for another day. I am more worried that SeaWorld didn't put up any time or money on making ice caps or something, or just a little bit of spice. You can see that they really don't care because they also did this with Pantheon. Anyways, away from the theming, Emperor feels very incomplete to me. As soon as you are released from the holding brake, in what feels like 10 seconds, you are already hitting the final brake run, and this is the reason the #1 coaster at SeaWorld San Diego beats this ride. The best coaster at SeaWorld San Diego is unironically a family coaster. Yes, you heard me right, I said a family coaster beats a B&M dive coaster and a Premier Skyrocket too. Manta has a max height of 30 feet and beats both of these large-scale coasters. The reason for this is airtime. Contrary to our upcoming video, I don't think you can figure it out by this statement, but the one thing that Manta has over every other coaster at SeaWorld San Diego is airtime. This mock launch coaster that stays under 30 feet somehow packs in the strongest airtime in the park, though that's not all what it does. Unlike Emperor, it feels like a very complete ride. You have a really cool launch feature with a 270-degree projection. Not only this, but you have a second launch that makes for a much longer coaster than Emperor. The layout is pretty great with a lot of turns and hills, and also the environment around you is amazing. Because this coaster is subjected to a max height of 30 feet, some of the coaster is dug out in trenches and just makes for a really cool experience. The speed of flying around combined with some of the best airtime at this park is the reason why Manta falls in the #1 spot. Additionally, it feels like a more complete ride with articulate theming and a meaningful purpose. That's all for today's video, guys. I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.